Exciting news. MBR is now available on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. Don't miss out on our amazing content. Simply search for MB Radio on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick to start enjoying a world of entertainment at your fingertips. Tune in to MBR and experience a whole new level of radio experience. Whether you're into music, news, or talk shows, we've got something for everyone. Download the MB Radio app now and elevate your listening experience with MBR.
Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned stations are uniting to bring you top-notch, veteran-run podcasts, along with your favorite classic rock music 24/7. Stay tuned for the ultimate radio experience that celebrates our heroes and plays the tunes that never get old. From engaging discussions to timeless hits, this partnership has everything you need for your listening pleasure. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter in radio history as MB Radio and Patriot Radio come together to rock your world.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
So,
oh my goodness.
well, welcome everyone. So I was just looking at the screen, and after us recording for what looks like about 4 minutes, we had our mics muted the entire time. So here on the Into the Weeds podcast, you're always getting professionalism at its finest. That being said, welcome to the Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio and on Patriot Radio. We're so happy to have you.
Oh my goodness.
We were just getting a little emotional about how my little brother just left for college. He's in the big city now.
Yes.
He's doing his own thing. We're proud of him, but we were just talking about how basically it's been a long week. Also, today we're going to be more so going over some news articles and some different things that we found. Sorry, I'm not trying to speak over you.
No.
Just news articles and things we found. And then you were saying something about how we do have people in the queue.
Sorry, guys. If it can happen, it will happen.
Absolutely.
But yes, I have been in communication with several different people. I've had people secure times, and I'm just waiting for those times to come up.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, we're trying to figure out different ideas for shows. And if you guys have any ideas, please leave a comment and we'll check it out.
Yeah, and then we have also ideas of things that we want to talk about and stuff. But like he said, we had a super busy week this week, so we're getting some. But there's some things happening in the news. So
yeah. There's some things happening in the news, and there's some articles that we just kind of found. So I guess right now we're going to get into the first one, and I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so. This one was wild. I came upon this one, and I guess this is a couple of years old. But
okay.
Yeah, but I guess they just had a hearing or something like that. The Body Next Door: How a Woman Joked About Having a Prank Skeleton in Her Garden, but it was actually her husband.
Honestly, that's a mood, though. No, I'm sorry.
Can you imagine?
No, I could totally imagine that.
Okay, so I'm going to read this.
It sounds like he probably did something. He pissed her off.
I don't know. This woman, well, you'll just have to hear.
Okay.
So a silly prank by neighbors in the South Wales Valleys led to one of the most bizarre murder investigations in criminal history. Eccentric Lee Sabine told residents of the block of flats where she lived that she had a plastic medical skeleton from her days as a nurse. Before Lee died of cancer in 2015, the skeleton and other belongings were dumped at the rear of the flats. Neighbor Michelle James, 45, thought she would have some fun with the bones tightly wrapped up in polythene sheeting. She said at the time, me and another neighbor wanted to get the skeleton and sit it on a friend's city to give him a shock when he got home. Sorry. Okay, that's her.
Are these the actual skeleton bones?
Yeah, I guess so. Those are the actual skeleton bones, I guess.
Okay, word, I guess.
Okay. Okay. We took 2 kitchen knives and headed out to the patio, but were surprised how well wrapped up the thing was. The knife cutting through the plastic, but then hit cardboard and finally tinfoil. Suddenly, a pool of black sludge poured out all over my hands and arms. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. And we were hit by the worst smell you can imagine. I started screaming, "It's a body, a real body." 2 policemen turned up and were physically sick as they examined the contents of the bag on the shared patio in the village of Badoo, Pontypridd.
What a name.
Yeah, well, this is Welsh. So
Welsh. Okay, Pontypridd. I kind of like it.
Mother of 3, Michelle explained she had planned to play a trick on a neighbor, but the police arrested her on suspicion of murder.
Okay.
Okay. She kept telling them that whoever was in the bag was connected to Lee, but they couldn't check because she had just died. During her 3 days in custody, Michelle was shown gruesome images of the contents of the rolled up bag. There was a skull with a dent where the head had been caved in.
I don't like to hear that.
Another picture showed a hand with a gold signet ring on one of the fingers. Incredibly, the body was still dressed in blue Marks and Spencer's pajamas. 3 weeks later, DNA tests showed the body was that of Lee's husband, John, last seen alive in 1998.
Okay, yeah, word. Okay. 1988.
1998. South Wales police believe mother of 5, Lee, smashed his head in with a blunt instrument thought to be an ornamental frog, then hid his body for years at her 2-bedroom council flat in the village of Badoo.
Yeah, I think we're just going to take that.
They believe that is the murder weapon.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Which I love frogs.
So do I. I joke about the fact that, he probably deserved it. But no, that really is sad, though, especially since he was murdered all the way back in 1998 and something's not even happening about it until right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just speaks to I mean, how did they not even notice that? Like, was he not reported dead? Is any of that stuff in the article? Like, does anyone know what happened with him?
It doesn't really say. I'm hoping
No.
more will come out in the future.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep updated on that. But
So it says when Lee 74 knew her days were numbered, she wanted rid of the evidence and hired 2 local men to get it downstairs and onto the patio. John Sabine, who had been registered to the property, had not been seen for 18 years before his body was discovered. It is still unknown exactly when he died. Medically trained, Lee had embalmed his body, and it's believed she kept it in a divan bed in the spare room of the home they had once shared. Can you imagine? An inquest in 2016 heard it had been preserved by chemical mummification.
you know, unrelated, but I was just looking at this video of like, I want to say it was the Paris catacombs, and there was like a bunch of like skeletons and mummies and stuff that were on the walls and stuff. And I don't know how I hadn't heard about it before. I mean, this is something everyone that's watching has probably already heard of, but in like the Paris catacombs, there's like a box, and in it is a little girl, and she's the most well-preserved body ever, and like her face actually looks like she's just sleeping. Like she looks like a real, well, I mean, not real, I mean, obviously she is real, and I mean, it's tragic. It happened in 1920 something that I believe that she passed away in, and they embalmed her with something that I don't recall what it was, but it was something that we aren't able to use anymore because it's toxic, even though the formaldehyde and the stuff that they pump our bodies with after we die already is toxic, but to a lesser extent, I guess. Sorry, I wasn't trying to derail, but
no.
I was just thinking about that, but yeah,
there's some fascinating stuff that happens to bodies. But Glenmorgan coroner Andrew Barkley recorded a verdict that Mr. Sabine was unlawfully killed, most likely by his late wife. The coroner added precisely what happened, and the circumstances will sadly never totally be known. But more details crept out about the mysterious ex-nurse who claimed to be a former cabaret singer who modeled herself on the actress Greta Garbo. Her real name was Anne. Lee was her stage name. She used to boast about once having sung on stage with Sir Tom Jones.
I don't want to sound like a child, but I don't know who Tom Jones is.
He's the guy that he's always in Vegas, playing in Vegas, I think, isn't he?
I guess
isn't he the one that it's not unusual to be loved by anyone? Okay,
I don't know. I mean, I've heard the song, but I didn't know.
Think
but
that's
anyway,
the guy.
But I mean, hey, word if she.
Anyways, yeah, and I think he's actually British.
He's British.
I think so.
Okay. I mean, this all is happening in not the United States, so
but I did not know that he was not American until a few years ago.
Gotcha.
Okay, she and John lived in Australia, where they had been investigated by police for abandoning their brood of 5 children: Susan, Stephen, Martin, Jan, and Lee Ann.
And this is the lady who killed her wife, or killed her husband.
Yes.
Oh yeah, well they're trash then if they abandoned their children.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
According to reports in New Zealand, the pair went on the run after John Sabine was accused of fraud. By the time she died, Anne Sabine was estranged from her entire family, including her grown-up children, now living in New Zealand. She and John immigrated there in the 60s before abandoning their 2 boys and 3 girls in a state-run nursery in Auckland and eventually returning to the UK without them. The couple's second youngest daughter, Jane Sabine, has gone on record to say, "I have no doubt my mother was capable of murder." During a visit to a local hairdresser when her health was failing, she bragged, "People will be talking about me long after I'm gone." When they asked why, she replied, "Because of the body in the bag." 8 years have passed, and the story of the wife who kept her husband's body, Norman Bates style, mummified at her home, has died down in the village of Baddow, which ironically means graves in Welsh. But a new 3-part Sky TV documentary, The Body Next Door, aired for the first time on Sunday, and the name Lee Sabine is on everyone's lips again, just as she predicted.
Wow.
That's wild, isn't it?
Wild.
So can you... So when I first heard this, there's this woman that came to mind that I could totally see doing something like this.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention who it is.
Okay. Noted.
But it was totally somebody that's extremely eccentric, and I don't know her personally, but I know of her, and I don't know. I was just like, oh my gosh, can you see anybody in your life doing anything like that?
I can't. No, I cannot. That being said, though, we're about at that 15-minute mark, so why don't we go ahead and take a break?
Yeah. Okay. We're going to listen to. Actually, we've got to go to J&J Beard and LTD Tactical first. Stay tuned.
Introducing J&J Beard Co., your go-to destination for high-quality handmade and natural beard products. Our family-owned business, based in New Jersey, prides itself on using the finest ingredients to bring you premium products that will elevate your grooming routine. Each product is carefully crafted with love and expertise, ensuring that you get the best care for your beard. Treat yourself to the luxury of J&J Beard Co. and experience the difference that true quality and craftsmanship can make for your beard. Join the J&J Beard Co. family today and unleash the full potential of your facial hair with our exceptional products. Find them on the web at jjbeardco.com. That's jjbeardco.com. Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio and Patriot Radio now. Before we left for the break, we were talking about Lee Sabine and her murdering her husband, John, and putting him in the garden. And I have a video that we're going to wrap up the story with real quick.
An inquest has been opened into the death of a man whose body lay undiscovered in a back garden in South Wales for nearly 2 decades. It's thought John Sabine was murdered by his wife Leanne, who herself died last October. The couple had gained a degree of notoriety in New Zealand, where they'd emigrated from after abandoning their 5 children in the late 1960s. Well, our correspondent Sian Lloyd is at the coroner's court in Aberdare for us now. Sian.
And it's clear from the evidence at this inquest this morning that friends and neighbours really knew very little of the truth surrounding this couple. John Sabine hadn't been seen since 1997 and he was never reported missing.
Welsh police have discovered the body of a man wrapped in plastic.
This is how the discovery which led to today's inquest was reported in New Zealand. John Sabine and his wife Leanne had gained notoriety while living there before moving home to Wales almost 20 years ago. In November last year, police were called to the couple's flat in the village of Beddau. Human remains had been found in the garden. Today, forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Jones told an inquest the remains had been discovered beneath layers of wrapping, including shopping bags and bin liners. There was evidence of serious head injuries caused by a blunt instrument.
He told the court how he'd examined an ornamental frog removed from the scene. He said he believed it had caused the injuries inflicted by a single blow.
The inquest was told Leanne Sabine described herself as a former cabaret singer. She gave people the impression that her husband remained in New Zealand. She lived in the flat for 18 years without anyone seeing John Sabine. The couple had a tumultuous family history. This old footage taken by New Zealand television captured the moment their children confronted the pair. The couple had abandoned their 5 youngsters some 20 years before this, soon after arriving in the country. This is Leanne Sabine, pictured in the garden where the body was found. She died from cancer a few weeks before police made the discovery. John Sabine's son from a previous relationship followed members of South Wales Police into the coroner's court. Officers say their investigation is now over. They're not looking for anyone else in connection with the case.
Well, the neighbour who found the remains has just been giving evidence here at the inquest, and she told the court that Leanne Sabine told her that she'd owned a medical skeleton. It seems that this was far from the case, and the inquest continues.
Sian, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I just realized I was just telling her, I was like, man, we just played a news clip all the way through. So I hope that that doesn't cause any issues. But I mean, we're not monetized or anything anyway. So we'll just take the L on it. But either way, wow, that is really something for sure.
Yeah. When I saw that the other day, I was like, wow. To live next door to somebody and then to realize that for almost 20 years she had a dead body in that apartment.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be very jarring to find out that there was a dead body anywhere. This is unrelated, but it kind of reminded me. One of my coworkers actually was telling me the other day that she found out that there was a death in her house before she ever moved in, and she even specifically asked, and they didn't disclose. And so that seems like just a similar kind of vibe to me. It's just like super.
I think in California,
unsettling.
it's illegal to sell a house without disclosing that.
I'm willing to bet it's probably not legal in most places. I mean, I want to think that it's not legal because I mean, come on. I mean, like, okay, from what she understood from like, gathering information from other people in her neighborhood, she found out that it was just like, a medical thing and it wasn't like a tragic death. But like imagine like, moving into a place and it not being disclosed that there's like some kind of a tragic thing happening there. I mean, everyone believes differently, but I kind of feel like there's at least like kind of bad vibes or some kind of a bad aura in the air. So I personally would not really want to live in a home where something like that happens. So fingers crossed that that hasn't happened here.
No, I wouldn't either.
Although, because you have really weird experiences here sometimes. I've never had any weird paranormal experiences, but not to discount yours because I believe.
Well, our neighbor said there, as far as he knows, there wasn't any death
kind of
here.
He's lived here for like 20 years or something like that, right?
Since it was built
over here. Okay, gotcha.
But my mom and dad's house, when they bought it, it had already had a death in it. And then 2 other people died in the house.
Bad vibes in that house, like entirely. It freaked me out. There was no way. Like your mom, when she was still alive, she tried to get me to spend the night there like one time, or maybe she didn't try and get me, but she like invited me to spend the night, and I was like, I think I'm gonna pass on it because it just freaked me out so bad. But then her bedroom was filled with clowns too. So that was an extra layer on top of it where I would have never been able to sleep in that bedroom just thinking, oh my god, there's clowns everywhere watching me, and 2 people have died here. It was
not
crazy.
Only was my mom a drug addict, but she collected clowns and scared the ever living crap out of me all the time.
She was definitely something else, and I wish that I would have been able to get to know her a little bit better.
Me too.
She lived in Oklahoma. We were living in Florida at the time. I probably only got to be around her a handful of times, but she was definitely something. Clowns everywhere, and she was something. But yeah, what's the next news article or the news story that you were looking into?
Well, actually, we're going to go to yours.
To mine? Okay. Yeah. So something that we haven't really talked about a lot, but something that we definitely want to do an episode on in the future. The Duggar family. Okay, I don't really know if people know much about it. We can just talk about the Duggar family in general.
I mean, we can talk as far as like
well, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, the Duggar family, if anyone's ever heard, it's from the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting. I think it started out as like I think they had a special on, I don't know if it was TLC or another network, but it was like 15 kids and pregnant again, and then they had like a couple other small specials, and then it turned into 17 Kids and Counting, and then 18, and then 19, and then I believe that she had another miscarriage towards the end, and it could have potentially been 20. That being said, they are a fundamentalist Baptist adjacent type family. They wear skirts all the way to the floor. They believe in courting rather than dating. There's no kissing until marriage. There's no you can't front hug until marriage. You can only do like a little side hug or something like that, and maybe like hold hands, and you have to go on chaperone dates. And but yeah, they had a TV show several years ago, and it just captivated the nation because we're like, oh my goodness, like people actually live like that. That's crazy. And they were involved with an organization called the IBLP. And the IBLP stands for the Institute in Basic Life Principles. And it was run by a man named Bill Gothard. And he is a very, very evil man, in my personal opinion. Allegedly, don't come for me. But he has been accused of several sexual misconduct crimes with minors, with, all sorts of people and all sorts of things. They also, the Duggar family, their oldest son, Josh, unfortunately, was arrested in, I believe, 2019 for CSAM, which is child abuse materials. He had, oh my God.
Yeah, we don't even want to get into it.
I'm not going to get into it. I'm just saying, I accidentally ran into descriptions of just some of the things that he was looking at, and unrelated to the obvious clear issue before you even get to it. It is some of the most disgusting, depraved things on their own that I have ever heard in my life. So he is thankfully rotting in a correctional facility. Not for long enough though. I think he was given about like 12 years. He should probably be out, I want to say in like 2032 or 2030 or something like that. But a lot sooner than I feel comfortable with. He has like 8 or 9 kids all of himself. I think they're all M's. All of the Duggars, like the original Duggars, are all J names. And I want to say that all of his kids have M names, but don't quote me on that. Unfortunately, his wife, Anna, is still married to him, and she's still faithful to him. And there's a lot of complexities that kind of go into that. And, Jim Bob, who is the father of the Duggar clan, he is allegedly not a super great guy. From what I understand, he doesn't have any abuse allegations in the same way that Bill Gothard does. I don't want to accuse him of anything of that sort. From what I understand, he's not doing anything like that. But he is known to be very controlling, and women don't really have much of a voice. I mean, his wife was pregnant for like basically 20 years straight.
Yeah.
And, she used to be a confident, outgoing cheerleader, and then she met him, and I don't even know. It's crazy. But a reason why that we have a very special interest in the case is more related to you than me. I know more about the actual goings on of everything, just because I've taken a special interest in it because of all the stuff that she told me as a child. But oh, real quick, I see that we have a commenter in here. We want to shout out Maxine B. Hi. Oh, from the UK. Awesome. I
Party
love that.
of one.
Party of one. Yeah, well, we're super happy to see you. But yeah, so you want to get into how you got introduced to the Duggars?
Yeah, so I grew up in Oklahoma, but my dad and mom got divorced, and my dad went and moved to Northwest Arkansas. He moved to specifically Springdale, Arkansas. And
I was born in Arkansas, for the record.
Yeah, she was. After I got out of the military.
After she got out of the military, yeah, but sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, my dad moved to Springdale, Arkansas, and that is where the Duggars lived. And just so happens that my stepmother's ex-husband, so my stepsister's father, was a deacon, I think, at the Springdale Baptist Church. And that is where Mary Duggar, Jim Bob's mother, was the Sunday school teacher for people who were, or for the kids who were riding the bus. So
and that's
a whole,
specifically, that's something that I have an issue with. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit what like the bus kids was.
Yeah, I will explain it. I'll explain that, and then we'll go to break and then come back and we'll talk more about it. But bus kids are kids who usually have parents who don't go to church. Well, they don't go to church, and usually the children are in poverty or deprived in some form or fashion. And so what they used to do was there was this really amazing man named Joe Dorman who actually ended up performing the wedding ceremony for my husband and I because he promised me that he would do it when I got older. But he was my bus driver, and he would come and pick me up every Sunday, and he would take me to church, and then he would bring me home.
So I have a thought that I guess I've never really brought up to you before, but I'm just thinking now. So I'm not trying to like, I respect the high opinion that you hold of both him and of Mary Duggar.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, those being adults in the situation, didn't they kind of perpetuate the fact that there even was bus kids instead of people? I mean, the fact that they were even allowing that to happen, the fact that they were kind of, I mean, I'm not saying that they're horrible people or anything, but the fact that they allowed that, and in Mary Duggar's case, I don't know about the other guy, but I mean, they kind of allowed a lot of really bad things to happen and didn't speak up. And the fact that,
well,
and I mean, in my opinion, that seems
really
bad
things to happen. You're not.
Well, I say Mary. I'm saying because of the things that happen in the Duggar household.
Oh, well, that's different from the bus.
But
ministry.
I'm just saying, generally speaking, she allowed a lot of bad things to happen, just in her life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they, allowed, oh, this is a bus ministry, we're going to keep it separate. I don't know. It just feels super like you're alienated, being for disadvantaged or impoverished or anything like that. And I hate that.
Yeah. And I totally, it took me a while as an adult before I realized that it was bad, that it was not okay. Once I started having my own children and started getting,
it's just your life.
Started getting involved in actual ministry. I was like, okay, bus ministry is amazing. It can be really great. But when you separate the children from the rest of the church community, that's when it becomes a problem. When you're saying these are the kids whose parents don't go to church and who are less fortunate, and we single them out, it's just not cool.
Yeah, no, that just doesn't sit right with me. And I'm not trying to sit here and make judgments on anybody's character, but I will say that it bothers me that they as adults sat back and allowed all that to happen. And you deserved just as much access to any kind of programs or any kind of spaces or any kind of anything as much as anybody else did.
I was different because I wasn't from a less fortunate household when I was living with my dad. I was actually living in a middle class home.
Yeah.
Which I had very polarizing opposite experiences in life. My mom on commodities and food stamps, and my dad in a middle class household. So I only went on the bus because my dad didn't go, and my stepsister's dad also drove a bus and would pick people up.
Yeah.
So that's how I fell into it.
I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm just saying anyone.
Yes.
Nobody deserves that. And
no, I agree.
It kind of makes me feel not so great about any adult that would allow that to happen personally.
So I'll just say it was a different time, and people weren't thinking like they do now. There's a lot of things that were overlooked.
Yeah. I don't like,
but we're going to get into Mary Duggar and the story I have with her after this commercial break. We're going to go to commercial real quick, and then we'll get back into it. And we're going to listen to Rain by Cade Roth and the Black Sheep.
Sound of the rain falling down walk outside. Let the rain pour, let it fall, let it wash the dust from my soul. Let the rain pour, let it fall, let it wash the dust from my soul, from my soul. My soul, let the rain pour, let it fall, let it wash the dust from my soul. Let the rain pour, let it fall, let it wash the dust from my soul, from my soul. Let the rain pour, let it fall, let it wash the dust from my soul, from my soul.
Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned stations are uniting to bring you top-notch, veteran-run podcasts, along with your favorite classic rock music 24/7. Stay tuned for the ultimate radio experience that celebrates our heroes and plays the tunes that never get old. From engaging discussions to timeless hits, this partnership has everything you need for your listening pleasure. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter in radio history, as MB Radio and Patriot Radio come together to rock your world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio and Patriot Radio now.
Yes, ma'am.
So before we went to break, we were talking about the Duggars and we were talking about bus ministry. And yeah, I was in bus ministry, and yes, it was messed up. I've only come to realize that as an adult with my own children and being in ministry for myself. But I think that overall, Mary Duggar and Joe Dorman's impact on my life was significant, and I'm very appreciative of it. So I'll just go into a little bit of it. So like we were talking about, I was in bus ministry. So that means that Joe would come and pick me up every Sunday morning. And we would be divided from the rest of the church. And Mary got the girls who were... So she started teaching me in 5th grade.
Okay.
So from 5th grade to 9th grade is when she taught me.
Okay.
So now I lived in Oklahoma my 8th grade year and a little bit of my 7th grade year.
See, I didn't even realize you were with your dad for that long and that you knew her for as long as you did. I mean, I knew you guys were like cool and close, but I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, and then I went to church there. I think I started going there when I was 8.
You're 8, gotcha.
Because I would go for the summers to my dad's. So so I met Mary in the 5th grade, and I always looked up to her because she was always dressed really nicely. She had really nice clothes on. You could tell they were quality. And by the way, this was a mega church.
Yeah.
So
it's its own set of issues.
Yeah.
But you know what? I want to say, whether it be for the mega church thing or the bus ministry thing or just really anything in general, something I've realized over the past few years is there can be people that don't do great things and, some situations that are kind of messed up. But, if they made an impact on your life in a positive way, then you just need to appreciate the interaction or whatever it is for what it was.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And so I very much agree with what you're saying. But it is worth noting and calling out just for the sake of, hey, we don't want to allow that sort of thing to continue, because it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, what color of your skin is, anything. You deserve to all be treated equally and the same. So but I totally understand you having positive feelings towards them, and I think it's good that they made a positive impact on your life no matter how it was.
So she wore really nice clothes, she wore makeup, she wore high heels, which is so funny when you consider the Duggars.
Yeah, definitely.
She had this big blue van. Now I know why she had the big blue van.
And I do want to clarify that she isn't a part of the IBLP.
No.
And the Duggars actually didn't even go to that church,
No,
even though they
didn't.
did live very, very close, or maybe even on the property of the church.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing. So it was a mega church. They had a property next door.
Yeah.
The Duggars lived there. And Jim Bob and his family lived there.
We even went to Arkansas less than a year ago for a funeral, or we were traveling through on our way back, and we drove past all that. She's like, "Oh, and that's where the Duggars used to live," and it's just an empty lot.
Yeah, it actually was turned into the youth house for a little while after they moved out. But that was after my time. So yeah. Anyways, Mrs. Duggar is what I called her, Mrs. Duggar. And for those years, we got really, not like close, but you see how the kids interact with Dad and I in youth ministry.
And it was a similar effect.
Yeah. She was a part of my life, and it got to a point once I got in the 9th grade, she started actually taking me home from church.
Gotcha.
Because I was kind of embarrassed to be on the bus in the 9th grade. And, you've got all these rich kids. Because I integrated myself into the church. And so I would go on Wednesday nights and I was in the youth choir and all that stuff.
I'm glad that you were able to find a way to, kind of weasel yourself in, but I'm glad. But
yeah, I integrated myself into the whole church. So I got the whole experience, but the kids that went to on the bus with me did not. So yeah, but yeah, she was there and she would take me home, like I said, because I was embarrassed. And on the rides home, we would just talk about our lives, and she just told me a little bit about her family. And but there was this one day where I wanted to be taken home, and a lot of people don't understand this, but at this time I was 16 years old because I had gotten held back in the 4th grade. So my birthday's in January.
This is in 9th grade?
Yeah. So in 9th grade, I was 16 years old.
I was 13 when I went to the 9th grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sorry. Okay. So gotcha. You're 16 years old and you're with Mary. I didn't even realize you were that old with the story.
Yeah. So, so you got to realize it wasn't like she was just talking to a child.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. And
I assumed you basically were a child.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused, because they're like, well, why would this adult talk to this child like this? But here's what happened. So I asked her one day if she would take me home, and she said, "Well, I have something to do, but if you don't mind going with me, you're more than welcome to." And I was like, "Okay." Like I said, I was 16. I didn't care.
Just along for the ride.
Yeah, my parents really didn't care. I mean, well, my stepmom was really controlling, but
She'll get over it.
yeah.
You were safe.
Yeah. So anyways, so we get in her big van, and she's like, "Oh, we've got to go to my son's house." And at this time, I did not know where Jim Bob lived. I didn't know who Jim Bob or Michelle were. I didn't know anything about them.
Yeah, because they weren't famous or anything.
No.
They were just your typical. I mean, people like that are pretty common in Arkansas, just big families and sort of things. And it just it caught attention because, I mean, the majority of America is like, what in the world is going on over there?
Yeah. So anyways, we got in the car, and she's like, "Okay, we're going to my son's." So she pulls out of the church parking lot and immediately goes right next door. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, so we're sitting in the van, and she's like, "Now I got to tell you something." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "My son and I don't agree on religion and things." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Part of the reason is because they keep having kids. And I don't think that's okay." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And
that's crazy because they would have only been like less than 8 in.
Let's see, it would have been 95.
I don't know the ages of all
it would have
people,
been 95.
I can imagine that the majority of them weren't.
However many children they had in 1995. So we go up to the door. Jim Bob opens it. It's this teeny tiny house. I mean, it was a small house. Probably, I would say, no more than 1,000 square feet, if that. I mean, that's probably pushing it. And but the house was very neat and tidy. They had 2 fridges, 2 stoves, and then all the kids just came out and lined up from oldest to youngest. And I don't remember any babies, but I'm sure there were some. I just don't remember that. But it gave me bad vibes because when I was younger, I had gone to somebody's house, and the dad abused them, and somebody had done something wrong, and there were like 5 or 6 kids in this family. And the dad, when I was over there, had them all line up in a row and would like beat them.
Not Jim Bob.
No,
for anyone
not Jim.
tuning in, I see that we got another viewer. Not Jim Bob.
Not Jim Bob.
Not Jim Bob.
No,
Okay.
no.
Sorry, I just want to make that clear.
No, I had
Yeah, but no, that's
experienced.
so sad.
I had experienced children lining
So
up.
it kind of gave you a PTSD kind of thing, or brought your brain back, is more so what I meant to say.
Yeah,
Brought
yeah.
you back to that time.
I had experienced
Gotcha.
children lining up from oldest to youngest, and then
it being
getting
like that.
beat.
Not to say that that is what the Duggars were doing, but it just drew the correlation.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So I just got a creepy vibe from it, but I just kind of dismissed it. But they were nice. They were kind.
But it shows that like they're training, like it's a set. It's like it's not them just being kids, It's like, oh wow, we have to portray ourselves as on 100% of the time. And that has been a very common story from what I've heard, of other people. And I don't know if you know this, but they were having like families stay with them
That's what
in
you
that
told
house.
me.
Yeah. They're having families stay in that house. And even though I wasn't there like you were, and I haven't seen physically for myself how small the quarters are, I've seen pictures and I've heard stories, and everyone corroborates the fact that there was not enough room for what was going on. And and on top of that, they were having like these, families with other little girls and stuff coming in here. And that's when, something I didn't mention in the forward when I was talking about Josh, but he had done some things to his sisters. And it's proven it happened. It's not an allegation. But yeah, he had done some things to his sisters, and even one of his babysitters, so it just makes me wonder and really pray that nothing else was happening with all those people that were in and out of that house, because he is a depraved person.
Yeah. So yeah, I They were, like I said, they were kind. We only spent maybe a good 5 minutes talking to them.
just an in and out thing.
I don't even know why she was there.
I don't remember. Yeah.
But so we got back in the van, and I'm from a large family. So like I've got 26 first cousins. My mom had 8 siblings. She was one of 9.
Yeah.
And then my dad was one of 5. So, you know, I'm used to a big family. So it wasn't 15 kids at that time.
No, yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Or 19
so it was
kids
no
at that time.
different. It was no different from your, grandma.
Yeah. So it wasn't anything like shocking or anything like that. But I remember getting into the van with Mary, and she was like, "Yeah, we don't agree. We don't the things he believes in. I do not."
Yeah.
And I thought it was odd that she was stressing that point to me at 16 years old. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's just clearly a lot of issues that are going on there. And it's like after a certain point, it's like how many, statistically speaking, you can't have any more than like 5 like close friends. You know what I mean? Maybe a couple more than that, but like close friends that you actively speak to. Okay. You can have people that you feel close to, but you can't have more than like 5 or 6 people really in your orbit a majority of the time that you were actively speaking to. So how are you to convince me that they have fully fledged, like healthy relationships with all 19 of their kids?
Yeah.
And, on top of that, there was a lot of parentification of their kids. They had a buddy system. The buddy system being where basically as soon as you were weaned off of nursing from your mother, that you were passed on to one of the older kids, and they basically are your buddy, where they're like raising you. And then the mom keeps getting pregnant, so then she'll go and she'll have the next kid and the next kid and the next kid. And
and I don't remember exactly what Mary said that day, but I know that it had something to do with them continuing to have children and not being able to take care of them monetarily wise. Now, at that time, actually,
they were really struggling. From what I understand, they didn't have money
at that time. I believe that Jim Bob was running for alderman or something like that too.
He's had some public offices, and he's also had some public failures. He ran for office the same year that Josh actually went through his trial. He ran for office that same year. Yeah. And so as the trial was going on, he was going back and forth between doing, his stuff. I can't remember if it was, I don't want to say it was for governor. It wasn't, I don't think it was that high, but he was, well, he ran for something. And I think he had it like in his sights to be a governor, but oh my God, no. It's really sad.
Yeah. And I'm going to play a video of Mary. This is actually, I think, from when she passed away.
She passed away in, what was it, 2015, 2016? I mean, it would have been like right after the Josh scandal or right before. And
it was right before.
Right before?
Yeah. I think it was right
before Ashley Madison and all that stuff.
I think so.
For context, anyone who might not understand or might not know about it, Josh, he was okay. So in 2015, there was a Ashley Madison leak. Ashley Madison is a website. It's a dating website for those that are married and are looking to have an affair. The tagline of it is "Life is short, have an affair." And so yeah, he was on the thing, and it's actually known. It's known to have a lot of bots. A lot of 90% of it is like men that are on there, and a lot of the women are bots because I mean, lots of people cheat on their spouses, but it just doesn't sound, in my personal opinion, like the smartest way to go about it if you're going to go about it. Not that I condone it, but so anyway, and there are actually services on there where it's a guaranteed affair, and I don't know how they guarantee an affair. But I don't know. I don't recall if he was paying for that service or not. That being said, though, I think actually had more than one account. And there was a huge leak where I believe it was like anonymous or some sort of anonymous group, and I'm pretty sure it was like the anonymous that leaked all of the data and all the emails and phone numbers and everything that were associated with all of the accounts on the site. There were a lot of politicians, a lot of celebrities, YouTubers, all these different people, a lot of Christians that were on this website. And good old boy Josh Duggar was on there. And finding out that he cheated on his wife, it just completely
snowballed.
It all went downhill from there. And then that's also around the time where the story broke. Someone came out and told the story of how they had found out that there was a molestation in the family by Josh, of several of his younger sisters, and they had reached out to the Oprah Winfrey show back in, I want to say, like 2005, 2006, somewhere around that time, and they were set to be on her show, but they reached out to her, told her about it, and because of that, they backed off and they didn't, have any communication with them. But where I find an issue is no one publicized that information. And now I do understand when children are involved, it makes it a lot more complicated. So that's why I have a little bit of grace for some of that. But I have absolutely no grace for the parents who handled it absolutely horribly. I understand if you don't necessarily want to send your child to jail over something like that, but there are precautions that could be made. There are things that can be done. And none of that was adhered to whatsoever.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they sent him to like it wasn't a wilderness camp, but it was basically like the same equivalent of like a TTI kind of thing, troubled teen industry kind of thing. And they went and they sent him to basically hang out with some guy and do some construction work for the summer. Well, the man that they sent him to go do construction work with for the summer actually ended up getting arrested for CP. The same charges that he later ended up getting arrested for.
So it's a big thing, and I don't even want to keep going into it because it's really bad. No,
it is really bad, but I also think, especially since you said we were talking about the Duggars, it's all worth mentioning. It's a good chronological thing.
That is true.
You need to mention it. You can't just write it off. People need to know exactly what's going on, and I don't need to go into the details. I won't go into the details. I'm just but anyway, that being said, sorry for kind of veering you off, but let's go ahead and watch your
no, but one thing to be said before we watch this, because it is talking about Mary's death, I think it was a suspicious death.
We're not going to say suspicious. It was just different. It was weird.
It was different.
She died of a drowning.
Yes.
And it was like in a pool, I want to say.
Yeah. So, but this is just, I think them talking.
It was odd though.
Yeah, I just wanted you to get a little glimpse of Mary, and please don't associate Mary with what Josh did or what Jim Bob does, because, like I said, she would have freaked out. She was very adamant that her and her son did not see eye to eye, and so for what it's worth. And here's this video real quick.
Mom is beautiful. We love you.
Counting On star Mary Duggar has died. The Duggar family announced the sad news to their shared Facebook page on Sunday, sharing the death of Jim Bob's mom with the world. Quote, "We are so sad to share that Grandma Duggar, Mary, passed away Sunday afternoon, June 9th, 2019. Mary, who is survived by son Jim Bob, her daughter Deanna, 21 grandchildren, and 13 great-grandchildren, was a real estate broker who often appeared on the family's TLC shows 19 Kids and Counting.
Tonight, the older girls are speaking at a birthday party, so I will have all the younger children with me."
And counting on.
Well, I think it's really neat being close to the Duggar house, just across the field from them. So it's going to be a really neat experience.
Jill Duggar took to Instagram to share her own tribute, sharing this pic of her sons Israel and Samuel with Mary. She captioned the sweet shot, quote, "She was an amazing woman of God and such a great example to so many. She was a feisty, incredible woman who always took the time to talk about Jesus with everyone she knew." Anna Duggar also posted about the family's loss alongside several pics of Mary with her 6 children. Quote, "What an awesome woman of faith and such a loving example of God's love." Joy Duggar and her husband Austin posted about Mary on their shared account, writing, "She was a strong woman, role model, godly counselor, and my favorite person to watch the Price is Right show with. She is greatly loved and missed."
So that was just a little bit of Mary. I looked for short videos to show you about her, but that was about the best one I could find, where they're not like over analyzing things that happened to her and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's just overall a very sad situation. From all accounts, she seemed to be a very lovely woman. You know, we all make mistakes. We all, do things that are less than great. There are a couple of other bones that I unfortunately have to pick, but probably aren't really worth it because she is no longer here. But that being said, I'm glad that she had a positive impact on your life and all of her grandkids' lives and all that sort of thing. So
yeah.
But the whole reason why we even brought up this whole thing, the whole reason why we even brought up the Duggars, we just went on a totally different tangent.
Yeah,
I
Alaura,
forgot.
you're going.
So the reason why. Sorry, I just want to give everyone a backstory because who knows who's going to be tuning in and what they know. And I'm not going to automatically assume they know everything about the Duggars that I know because you don't even know everything about the Duggars that I know.
Yeah,
and
no,
you actually have met them and I have not. That being said, their oldest daughter, Jana, just got married. And I want to say she's 31, 32, something like that. She's still very young, but she's definitely older for the standards of how young they get married typically in that family. A big issue that I have with purity culture as someone who grew up with purity culture, which I'm not going to knock, because, we don't need to get in that conversation right now too much, but a lot of people want to have sex, so they get married really quickly. And that seems to be maybe not the only motivator in a lot of these marriages, but a lot of them want to be out from underneath Jim Bob's control because they believe in, the umbrella of authority. So they get married really quickly. And I just want to say that I'm very happy that she felt comfortable enough to wait for the right person and that she didn't feel pressured into getting into a marriage that she didn't feel comfortable in. So,
and she's very beautiful.
She's very beautiful. Yeah.
They've got beautiful kids.
Yes, absolutely. And her story to me is particularly tragic because she has been living at home this whole time. And with the parentification thing that I spoke about before, she's been raising these kids still. She watches these kids still. She's lived on the property the entire time. She was living in a tiny house. But now her and her new husband are going to be moving to Nebraska. So Jana Duggar got married to Stephen Wisman, I believe, over this past week. And the Wismans are another fundamentalist family that are kind of adjacent to the Duggars. I want to say there might be another Duggar marriage in there with one of the Wismans. There might be another Wisman that is married to another one of her siblings. So it's kind of weird, but also being in such a small knit group of people and, having so many siblings, I don't think it's as weird as, if my little brother and I were to get married to siblings or something like that, you know what I mean? But because their situation's a little different, I will give it to them. That being said though, all of these photos are going to be from People Magazine. Their wedding was actually paid for by People Magazine. And something that I thought was worth noting is they had so first of all, they had 500 guests. They had 500 guests at this thing. And if I got married right now, I could not find 500 guests that I would want to have. But that being said, I'm sure most of it was just their family because they have so many freaking people. That being said, he's one of 13 siblings, and the Wismans actually cooked the entire reception dinner for 500 people.
Wow.
I think they made they said chicken and green beans and something like that. And they cooked for everything. And I'm just man, I was my first thought was oh shit, Jim Bob couldn't fork out the extra money. But then I found out it was people and I was okay, so that was just a choice. So, whatever. But yeah, they went to the Grand at Willow Springs, and the venue seems really pretty and everything seems really cool. One person though that is noticeably missing from this picture is not Jessa, Jill Duggar. Jill Duggar being, I want to say, the second oldest daughter. And Jill, there's some issues there, or not issues with her. She married a man named Derek, and I believe they're Calvinist rather than part of the IBLP. And, they've just had a lot of different religious disagreements.
Mhm.
And they seem to be the only people that have really called Jim Bob out on his contracts and the way that he did not fairly pay them.
Mhm.
And they're the only people that went and sign away basically their entire lives to him.
Mhm.
And on top of that, she's kind of branching off more. She wears pants, she wears shorts, she wears bathing suits. She has her nose pierced. Okay. She is scandalous. I can't believe someone would ever get their nose pierced
3 times.
3 times. I've actually got my nose pierced like at least 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've gotten them re-pierced so many different times. But yeah, so that absolute heathen. No, in my mind, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that she probably got a respectful invitation and probably respectfully declined. Because as you saw in the pictures, Jim Bob did end up walking Jana down the aisle.
Mhm.
And, I think it's good that, she has a good relationship with her father. I'm not going to knock that because I don't want people to have bad relationships with their fathers because they all have their good and they all have their bad,
Mhm.
But noticeably seeing that Jill wasn't there, I was like, oh, that is really sad.
Mhm.
No matter what the reason was, the fact that there's enough of like a broken tie there that she wasn't able to attend.
Mhm.
I don't know, that just made me really sad.
Yeah.
She's living her best life though, and I'd say she seems to be the most progressive of all of the Duggars. She still has some work to do in my personal opinion, but we all have some work to do.
Oh yeah, we all do.
But she seems to be doing really well for herself, and I'm very proud of her for breaking free of the Duggar mold because it is really hard. Especially since they didn't have any money. They didn't have really anything to their name. That She has so many siblings that she's not able to go and see whenever she wants to. And that's heartbreaking.
Mhm.
Someone who's now not able to see my sibling whenever I want. I can only imagine. But, best of luck to Jana and her husband
Mhm.
as they start their new life in Nebraska, far, far, far away from all of that BS.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did reach out to Amy Duggar. I wanted to have a conversation with her about her grandma, but I haven't heard anything.
I'd be willing to talk to her for sure because we're really willing to talk to anybody. Anybody. But I think it is worth noting that Amy has had her own set of controversies and also has kind of had a weird on and off relationship with, some creators that people don't have a lot of good things to say about.
Yeah.
So that's all I really gotta say.
Yeah.
But regardless, I'm open to talking to literally anybody, even creators that we don't agree with, people that we don't particularly see eye to eye with.
Yeah.
It's an open conversation here on the Into the Weeds podcast.
Yeah, but I would like to talk to one of Mary's grandchildren just to
reminisce. You did try and reach out to her a couple times.
I did try to reach out to Mary a couple of times, and I don't know what kind of wall was erected, to keep her from, reaching out or whatever. It doesn't matter.
But
that's
what it is.
Yeah, and so I would definitely want one of her grandkids to come on here and talk about her because she was a very good person, and she did a lot of good for me and for my stepsister Brandy. So yeah. So we're going to go to break. We are going to listen to Jen Ford, Gold Dust Woman. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the new Madrid fault line.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So here we go. This is Jen Ford, Gold Dust Woman. And stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Take your silver spoon to your grave.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio and Patriot Radio.
Yes, ma'am.
And right now we're going to we're going to get into the topic of the New Madrid fault line. And I've heard about the New Madrid fault line, but
I have not.
Oh, you've never even heard of the New Madrid fault line?
No. No, I don't know what you're talking about at all. I don't even know what the Madrid fault line is. Not to sound like an idiot, but
Well, I didn't realize this, but it's in Missouri. Do you
It's
know what
in
a fault line
Missouri.
is?
okay, let's make Alaura look like a child. How about you just tell our audience what it is, and Alaura will nod in agreement instead of being called out for not knowing what anything is. I'm not a science and math girly. I'm I don't know.
Well, you would think with the last name of your grandma, your grandma's maiden name, Richter, you would know.
Oh, yeah.
Earthquakes,
Yeah.
fault lines.
My bad. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so it is a big fault line that goes through Missouri,
Okay.
actually through, I think, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois.
Okay.
So we're going to watch a video from Ninjas Have Butterflies or something like that. These guys are hilarious. I really like them a lot. I think they're youth ministers or something. I don't know, because they produce some pretty funny videos.
Get into it.
Okay, so here we go.
Remember we had that solar eclipse a couple months back?
Yeah.
They talked about things that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
You know what St. Louis was doing?
What?
They are currently doing a drill for a 8.6 magnitude earthquake where they're suspecting the New Madrid fault line to shift and it being a catastrophic earthquake.
Where's
Also-
the Madrid fault line?
Was it Missouri?
You think we're all right though?
No. I definitely think it's going to happen. That split, the solar eclipse went right over the New Madrid fault line as well.
What would happen? It splits in half, right? Do you think it's chaos? Like, do you think it's east versus west? It's like everyone for themselves?
Think about supply trains, right?
Like,
to get supplies to the west side or the east side, there's going to be a giant gap.
They think it's going to be the whole nation or just like
a giant split. Catastrophic, like something we've never seen before. There's also fault lines in Wyoming, which has people a little freaked out because of the super volcano that is Yellowstone.
Yeah. And what a way to go. I want nature to take us out, not nuclear warfare.
We're very vulnerable to things that we can't control.
Okay, so
Big yikes on that one.
Yeah.
So not in Spain. Noted. Madrid doesn't need to be taken that literally. So I have an issue where I will put myself in crisis mode thinking about the end of the world. So thank you for that.
I thought about that when I saw it, but I was
yep.
like, you know what? We got to at least talk about it. So I did find out, though, that
was good.
It's probably not as serious as what they're talking about.
Okay, we love a good hyperbole.
Because in 1990,
okay.
So I was trying to find out information about this when I saw this, because I was like, oh,
Absolutely.
dang, I live in Missouri. I need to know about that.
Man.
So one of the things I came to, actually, let me go back. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, so one of the things that I found was on Reddit, of course.
Hey, people knock Reddit, but I love a good Reddit article. You can find some stuff.
Yeah, you can. So is anyone
Take it with a
else
grain of salt, though.
annoyed about the misinformation on the New Madrid fault line? And it says the 1990 earthquake panic. And I was like, what is that? So we got a video talking about it.
I've never been through an earthquake. Have you been through an earthquake?
Yes, I have been through an earthquake. I was in Oklahoma, and I was in, I think, my junior year, and I was in Algebra 2 class. And normally, because it was right next to Fort Sill, I mean, our high school was basically at the gates of Fort Sill. I mean, just like a mile, but it was enough. And we would always hear rumbling. Our houses would shake. The school would shake. So we were used to it because of all of the artillery being let off all day, every day and night. And so we were sitting in class and we felt the shaking and we thought it was Fort Sill. But then all of a sudden it just got more intense and it just kept going.
Yeah.
And kept going. And we were like, what in the heck is going on? And so my coach turned on the screen or the TV screen, and we went to the news and found out that we were having an earthquake. And it was the first time that we had ever had an earthquake, to my knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a fault line that runs through there too. And they've actually got a Richter scale and everything set up at Mears, where they have the buffalo hamburgers and yeah. So anyway, so I was looking into all this, and I found this 1990 earthquake video.
In 1990, the St. Louis Earthquake Survival Guide contained important messages that could save Missourians from the massive tremors that were predicted to occur on December 3rd of that year.
Probably everyone's worst fear is an earthquake hits, the arch falls over, and all of St. Louis is reduced to rubble. Well, that would make a great Hollywood script, but it's just not going to happen here.
But to me, a social media producer in 2022, this video was TikTok gold. 9PBS posted 4 short videos from the survival guide on TikTok, and they went viral.
So they're going to have to be secured, and I'll show you how to do that later. Now, put your feet against the wall, brace yourself, and ride it out. If you're a burnout from the 60s and still have shag carpeting, grab a hold of the stuff.
All this attention to the videos got me more interested in the events that made the survival guide happen. So I reached out to the man in the viral TikToks to find out more.
So they were looking for an individual who knew about earthquakes, who could be the talent, if you would, on this video. So my boss just turned and looked at me and said, they want to talk to you and see if you might be interested in doing it.
That's him, Nick Gragnani. He's the retired director of the St. Louis Regional Response System. Due to his expertise in natural disasters, he had a brush with fame in 1990.
I would start off in the morning and I had a suitcase. They had a slide projector in it and slides and all kinds of brochures and videotape. I would start in the morning at schools talking about earthquakes. I'd work the afternoon lunchtime with the Kiwanis clubs and the Rotaries. I'd finish up at night with community centers and stuff where people just wanted to know more information about earthquakes and how to prepare for this supposedly coming earthquake.
The reason for Gragnani's busy schedule in 1990 can be traced back to one person.
There is a probability, an enhanced probability of a large earthquake along all faults in the 30 to 60 degrees north latitude range.
Ivan Browning was kind of an interesting individual. He was well educated, but he was also kind of a self-promoter as well.
Christopher Allen Gordon is the director of library and collections at the Missouri Historical Society. He explains Ivan Browning's background.
By training, his actual field of study, he was a zoologist. And then he became basically a self-educated climatologist. Somewhere along those lines, he also...
Your channel, you're out.
Okay, so sorry about that. That was... I was trying to show... the earthquake panic. It was actually like a big panic. Mm-hmm. It was almost like the satanic panic. Mm-hmm. I mean, people were actually like freaking out. Yeah. I mean, they had drills and everything, and it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid living at Fort Sill, Lawton Fort Sill. We would have Russian drills when I was in elementary, and we'd be like, we'd get under our desks. So the Russians are coming. You know, we'd have these.
I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, because
but we're not far off from needing something similar.
Yeah, well, we were told, my whole life growing up there, we were told that we were a base that was targeted. Because they have all the artillery training and all of that there. So Fort Sill was like it's a major
You think it'd
place.
still be a pretty easy place to target?
Not easy place to
Or
target,
not easy.
but
A place they would want to target.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I meant to say. A place they would want to target. So they still on the watch for Vladdy Daddy.
Yeah, and so when I was a kid, I remember looking out the window because our teachers would tell us, "Oh, well, always be prepared because Russia has missiles pointed at Fort Sill, directly at Fort Sill."
Oof.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they used to tell us as
Still
kids.
fear into a child, yeah.
Yeah, we grew up with so much fear, and like
me with my borderline religious psychosis,
Oh my
thinking that
gosh.
I was gonna. It wasn't completely built on its own by myself, but yeah. But yeah, no, I get it.
I saw an ET dog toy today. I almost got it for
should
Oaks.
have. You know what I saw today? It was
What?
this shirt. Okay, maybe you won't be happy with me for putting this on here, but it was a shirt, and it was basically a TikTok, and so it was saying, "Oh yeah, if you go to the thrift store, they got the heat, and it's like this is what the heat is in question." And it was like a picture. It was a shirt, and it had like ET with like full on bondage gear and like a gag in his mouth, and I'm like, I want that shirt. Yeah. So you said it. I saw that earlier. I was thinking about that. I used to be terrified of ET as a child. That's the reason why she brought it up. Although that doesn't really have anything to do with the religious fear that I had. But that being said,
she was afraid of everything.
I think I have some undiagnosed problems, and I think that is just all that was really going on. But a big problem that I had. I was afraid of everything, and you can take a normal child's fear and the way that they deal with fear and multiply it by like 10 or more. I really probably put them through hell, but you
caused a lot of comedic relief, definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to look back on, but you know what? I have this thing where I have to like fully conquer everything that like I had like an issue with before, I was afraid of before, and like I have a bunch of ET shit in my room now, so there you go. I'm not afraid anymore. And I bought, I paid a tattooed artist to draw. So basically, I wanted. I wanted like the Michelangelo, like
Adam
and God touching kind of thing, but like with ET or whatever. And I was gonna get that tattooed, but I ended up losing my deposit because I moved out of state, and then also on top of that, like I don't know, it just never ended up happening. But then I went to try and get it done at another tattoo studio up here, but then they wanted to do it like super big, and I didn't want it super big. I just wanted like a really little thing. So anyway, sorry, went on a tangent that didn't matter, but. Now I love me some ET. I did love me some ET back then too. And then one day I just magically was afraid of it.
And it turned our world upside freaking down. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wish that she was over exaggerating, but it wasn't. I mean, like, it was bad. Yeah, I was traumatized. But anyway, that being said though, earthquakes are pretty not great.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, we live in Missouri. I'm thinking, okay, I moved away from Florida, which is a coastal town or coastal state.
Hurricanes,
everything
is coming up. It's September, August, September, hurricane season, right?
They already had a tropical storm, Debbie or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
I haven't even been paying that much attention. I should reach out to my buddies and be like, you good?
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention.
But they're really not even that big of a deal. I mean, we only even ever evacuated one time. It was for Irma in like 2016, I want to say, maybe 2017. And that was a mess. If anyone wants a story time, no, I'm just kidding. But like it was a mess. We ended up hopping in an RV with my grandparents being my dad's parents, not your parents. So my grandparents, so them two, you, me, Charles, dad, and then we had my great grandfather, and then we had my aunt,
my great aunt,
and that was everybody, right?
Yeah,
and then a dog, and I'm just gonna say there's some beef between the great aunt and pretty much everyone else in the family. And luckily she took her own car. And I think like halfway through the trip, she's like, fuck it, I'll just take it away. I'll get taken away in the hurricane. I don't even care. And she drives back. She drives back to Florida. She's like, I don't even care. I'll let the hurricane take me. And then I think Papa Richter, yeah, there you go, Papa Richter, when he was still alive, he this is probably like a year before he died too, or like 2 years before he died. He had to like sit in this one chair, and he had to stay in the chair, and if he got up, someone had to tell somebody. And so this one time, like I'm sleeping underneath a table on an air mattress, and I look up and I see him, and he starts to get up, and I was like, oh shit, and he almost fell down, and like dad had to get up and like keep him from falling down.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that
he was an interesting man. But yeah, that being said, I hope that we don't have a big earthquake like that. I've never been in an earthquake, and fingers crossed that it doesn't happen. Also, could you imagine like being under the influence of like something, and then just all of a sudden the world starts shaking? Oh my goodness gracious. Not that would be me, but I'm just saying, like, just the idea of it, like,
oh no, that would be so scary. I mean, even if
The whole world's moving.
if you just had a couple of shots of something and then all of a sudden something happens.
Yeah.
No, but I was
crazy hard
thinking
stuff.
when I watched that video, I was like, oh crud. Am I gonna have to become one of those preppers?
We should. Okay, not like crazy prepping, but like, there is something to be said about being ready and having certain things in order. Now, something I do understand, or something that I do see, is a lot of the preppers, they prep like a lot of the wrong stuff. And like a lot of people, they get paranoid about stuff. It's like, okay, cool. But like, when the end of the world hits, guns will be valuable. But you also need like food and stuff, because enough guns, like a lot of people are gonna have guns. A lot of people are gonna have ammo, and if that's all you have, you're not gonna have any food. You're not gonna like get anywhere with it. So I don't know. To an extent,
people definitely need to learn how to grow a garden.
Yes, I am all for that. I'm actually, I don't know if I've ever said this on here, but I'm in charge of a nursery. And that's my job. I'm a little plant girly. I don't know if I kind of look like it, but yeah, I'm a little plant girly. I'm a little forest nymph. I actually got told that by somebody once. I was sitting in a forest, having a little sesh out there and just hanging out. And I'm just chilling, not paying attention. Some old lady goes, oh, I didn't even know you were there. You're like a little forest nymph. It looks like you belong. And I'm like, oh, thank you. That meant so much. I was on break for work too. So anyway, but yeah. And I really next year want to find somebody, because I reached out to my tattoo artist friend who talked about starting a community garden. I want to find somebody who's really legit about a community garden, because I can donate so many seeds. I can donate so many vegetables, because like a month ago, our vendor for the vegetables pulled everything out and we had to throw pretty much everything away. But you got a bunch of free vegetable plants. So it works. It works. But I hate the idea of food waste. I hate the idea of throwing it all out. But it's like, I could really bring it somewhere. There is some sort of community garden down one of the streets.
I donated to the community garden, one of the community gardens here.
Yeah, and we have a somewhat local.
I gave like 500 something seeds or something.
Yeah,
more than that actually.
And then there's a college that's not too far away from here. And I'd say if we reached out to the right kind of people, I think they have like their own.
Well, that was the community garden.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
that one?
It's through them, affiliated through them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you reached out. But gotcha. So anyway, is there anything else that we have left to say, or anything else you want to address?
Yeah, no, there isn't. I thought about covering another story, because actually I'll just talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm just going to go into it really quickly.
Okay.
So for a year, I had this book on my baking rack, just sitting there. I saw this woman's face every day for a year. And because I suffer from migraines, I don't necessarily pick up a book and read it unless it's the Bible. I'll actually physically read that, but an actual book itself, I have a hard time reading, because sometimes it'll throw me into a migraine. But this book is called Carla Faye Tucker Set Free. And I loaded up a couple of videos. So when I would walk past this woman's face, I'm like, oh, she seems like, a nice lady. And I knew she had been in prison, but I didn't read anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. And then I found out what the heck she did. And I just found this out a couple of days ago.
She's in prison currently?
She
got out of prison and then she wrote this book?
No, she was put to death. She was on death row.
Oh, so she's not alive anymore.
No, she was actually
she wrote but did she write this book before she went to jail?
Well, not before she went to jail, but
before she went to prison where she was later executed.
She wrote this before she was executed.
She wrote this in jail?
Well, a woman helped her
while she was in jail. Yes. That's all I'm trying to clarify.
While she was in prison, and she didn't actually write it. The woman basically wrote it, but they, helped each other do it.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Anyways, so this is Karla Faye Tucker, and she was actually put on death row for murder in I think it was Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna play the video that I found. I found 3 of them, and they're only 38 seconds, 56 seconds each. So I'm just going to show you what I learned about this week on accident.
On June 13th, 1983, 23-year-old Karla Faye Tucker brutally killed 2 people with a pickaxe during a robbery. This is one of the most frightening cases. Karla and her boyfriend, Danny Garrett, confessed that they had planned to steal Jerry's motorcycle, but ended up committing the murders. Both were sentenced to death. She was the first woman to be executed in the U.S. Since 1984, while on death row, Karla underwent a profound religious transformation, becoming a devout Christian and expressing deep remorse. Her case gained national and international attention, which advocated for commuting her death sentence to life without parole with support from some foreign officials. Watch the full story on our channel.
Protesters came in support of Karla Faye Tucker and in support of executing her. Tucker, in 1983, was convicted of killing Jerry Lynn Dean with a pickaxe and admitted killing Thornton's wife, Deborah. Tucker found God and turned her life around, apparently. Enough for forgiveness from Texas Governor George W. Bush, but not a reprieve.
The courts, including the United States Supreme Court, have reviewed the legal issues in this case, and therefore I will not grant a 30-day stay. May God bless Karla Faye Tucker, and God bless her victims and their families.
The governor okayed the execution after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected 2 last-minute appeals. It, along with Texas's state courts and parole board, denied her clemency.
We feel like the system and the process has got to be changed. And that's no greater evidence than with Karla.
In the end, the sentence was carried out with a sense of loss imposed upon the Tucker family and peace for the Thorntons.
The ME would later find that one of the blows in particular internally decapitated Jerry, so that his skull was severed from his spine inside of his neck, which caused his airways to fill up with blood. So he starts to make a gurgling noise, the sound of a man trying desperately to breathe through blood-soaked airways. Well, Karla cannot stand this gurgling sound. It just rubs her amphetamine-soaked nerves the wrong way, so she pops up on her feet. She swings that pickaxe way up above her head and brings it down shunk, right into Jerry Lynn's body. And she does it again. And she does it again. She had to do it because she had to, quote, stop him making that noise. And every time she swings this pickaxe up over her head, down into the body, over and over, a total of 31 times. Every time, Karla would later claim to anyone who would listen, she has an orgasm. The ME...
Okay, sorry about that last one. It was a little descriptive. But I kind of wanted you, I wanted you guys to see what she actually did. So as a Christian, I believe in forgiveness. And I believe that God can cover over a multitude of sins, and I believe in redemption. And there's a lot of people in the Bible who, were murderers or who did terrible things who ended up becoming great people. But I don't know about this one, Laura.
All I'm gonna say is people are multifaceted, and you can feel remorse and things for certain things, but there are some things in the way that they're done that I feel like, if you want to make the argument that's between her and God, then sure, by hell, that's between her and God. But as far as her life here on Earth, I think that it's fine that it came to an end and that she did not need to go on any further, in my personal opinion.
Well, and her argument, because she tried to get a stay of execution several times. Her argument was that she was better off in prison helping reform people. So I guess supposedly she helped reform a lot of people.
You know what? I don't know what to say about it. I have mixed feelings about the death penalty. I really do.
Me too.
But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't think a great life was lost. I'm glad that she was able to do something good while she was behind bars. We all have good in us, and we all have bad in us. But not all of us say that we are satisfied by killing. So that's a totally different level. And I think that being sexually sadistic is a lot worse than just being a killer.
Yeah.
I can excuse murder for a lot of reasons, or at least killing more so than murder for a lot of reasons. But if that is something that you're legitimately getting some sort of a sick pleasure out of, then there is no reason. I can't excuse it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So
and I just brought that up because I was just so shocked.
Yeah, that is a lot.
I was shocked.
Just that I was laying on your thing,
it's been laying there for a year. I actually got it at the VA because I was at an appointment and they had a booth set up and they were giving away books.
Yeah.
And
that's the book they were giving out?
Yeah.
What do they give out? Mein Kampf too? I mean, damn. Okay, sorry.
Well, it's supposed to be an encouraging book about how people can change.
I don't like that. No, and I know that sounds bad. Because you can't change. Anyone can change. Well, not anyone. Most people can change. Okay, but that sort of thing, I don't know. I do have certain issues with the whole born again Christian thing, where it's like, because there are some people that can really change their lives, and if you did drugs, or if you were sexually promiscuous, or whatever issues they find, whatever issues the Christian church has with your actions, you can repent from all that stuff. But like I said, that's a special kind of evil. That's a special kind of evil, and I don't want to think of that as you can change your life. No, like, fuck you. I'm sorry.
And it hits home with me because I talk about prison reform.
Yes, and I don't want to make it seem like I don't think that there's good you can do.
And I'm actually in conversation. I've had conversations with 2 women who have been convicted of murder. Who have each separately reached out to me. One of them wants me to tell her story, but I can't because it turns out that her story is...
She has mental health issues.
Yes.
She has mental health issues, and she doesn't realize it. And that played into it. It's less of her being a bad person, but more of her having mental health issues.
Yeah.
So.
And and so when I was presented with this story, with this book, finally reading it and then learning, more about her, it made me think a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when you do prison reform, or when you think about prisoners, you want to include everybody because they're all human and they're all worthy. But
I think that within the pursuit of prison reform, you should look at it more as a whole rather than the individuals that are in there specifically. I mean, it is important to take people's individual stories and, take that into account. And, if they need justice in some way, fight for that, But when it comes to like specifically talking about how to change prison and stuff, I think everyone should be included in the good things to come.
Yeah.
But that being said, if you've done certain things and, the law finds you guilty and the law finds that you deserve to be put to death and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about your crime, then I'm not going to be upset that our tax dollars are not feeding you anymore. That being said, though, it costs a lot of money to put people to death.
Yeah.
And that's another conversation to be had. So, I have very conflicted feelings on it.
Yeah. And then plus all the people who are convicted to death or convicted to death row and then find out that they're not actually guilty.
And that is another conversation that's definitely worth having. But yeah, I don't know.
This book just made me think.
Yeah, no, it's probably
Karla Faye Tucker set free.
Bad people can do good things and they can have a positive impact on people's lives, just like how I said with Mary, even though I don't think that's even close to the level whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think that she was generally a good person, just did some not great things. But, that seems to be a deep down issue, So I'm not mourning her loss. That being said, I'm glad that she was able to have a positive impact on people's lives in some way. Everyone can, everyone does.
Yeah. So I encourage everybody, if you do want to know more about her life and faith on death row, and it was written by Linda Strom. And it's a good book and it's a good story. I mean, as far as like wanting to know about a real live event.
Yeah.
So tell me what you guys think about it. If you guys have heard about her, anything that we missed, and we only covered just a little bit of it.
Yeah,
but,
just tip of the iceberg. But that being said, it's probably about time for us to get out of here.
It is time for us to get out of here. And we thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I know that we're new to this and we're just trying to find our footing, but it is very helpful. It's very helpful to me. Just being able to get on here and have something to do.
Something to look forward to, something to invest your time in.
Yeah.
It's good. No matter where we're at right now, we will only continue to improve.
Yeah, we will. And we're going to change up the setting a little bit. And it's going to look a little bit different pretty soon.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm working on learning how to edit and do videos and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes.
We are working on it. But thank you, everyone who watched. We appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for next week. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more put together.
Yes. Thank you guys very much for watching Into the Weeds here on Military Broadcast Radio and Patriot Radio.
Yes, ma'am.
And we look forward to talking to you guys again. And I hope you have a blessed week and do something wonderful to change the world.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice.